Okay, guys, as you can see, we're back in the garage, and we have the big old beast jammed in here. Now, I have a couple of projects that I want to do on this. This is my daily. The BMW is driving great, but winter's coming and it's going to get put away soon. I have a little bit of rust to fix up on this, but on top of that, I have some modifications that I want to make. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a series. I think it's going to be a 2-video series. So just to start with today, I'm going to be working on electronic issues. For example, this top light bar does not work anymore. I might be able to take this apart and check if the wiring is okay on this side. But if not, I have a curved light bar that was originally supposed to go on this truck, but then I wanted to put it on another one of my trucks. But if this one isn't working anymore, then, I mean, obviously I need to replace this because this is kind of my high beam light bar. This one is okay, but this one gives me more distance just because of how high it is. Okay, so first project that we have today, I have a lot of his accessories connected directly to the positive post of my battery. Issue with that is sometimes I forget to turn those accessories off, which means that I kill the battery. Not too big of a deal during the summer, but the issue is that I do this mostly during the winter, which, if you know anything about batteries, it's not great to let them die during the winter, because when a battery is just sitting and it's got a charge, it has something called local action, which is where you're slowly consuming energy, and that energy is being directly changed into heat, which then keeps your battery from freezing. Now, there is a certain level where it does get too cold and the local action doesn't keep your battery warm anymore, but that's pretty cold. Easiest way to do that is to add a relay. Now, this can handle 85 amps. We're not going to be pulling 85 amps out of this ever. So I'm going to connect it with 6-gauge wire just directly from the battery to here. Inside of this, it comes with a wiring diagram. That side is French. So you connect the power, if you're looking at it, directly from your battery to this lug. We want to ground this lug. We want the switch or whatever we're using on this lug. And then this is going to be the output. So that'll be the 12 volts coming out. So that's going to end up being our ignition switched post. Now, we need to get a source, a low current source of switched power. Super easy. We're going to steal it from the fuse block. Now, the proper way would be to disconnect the fuse block and pull the wiring from the bottom, connect it into there, splice it into there. Issue with that, I don't want to pull that block off. So we have these instead. All these are is a little piggyback fuse block that gives you a fused wire out. And that's what we're going to use. So we're going to grab a voltmeter and then we're going to start looking for switched power. Now, I already kind of know which fuses are switched power, but it's really easy to figure out. Take your voltmeter. Mine is on the 20 volt DC. And we're going to ground one lead, doesn't matter which one. If you use the wrong lead, you're just going to end up with a negative voltage. And we're going to check on both sides of these fuses. And right now I have no voltage. Whereas on this one, I do have voltage. So this bottom row down here, get you a close up. This row, these ones are switched. Now, if I turn the key on, because the ignition is on, I should now have voltage. Which I do. So, we've just confirmed that bottom row has switched voltage, or switched power, ignition power, whatever you want to call it. We're going to take our piggyback wire. These come with 5 amp fuse. Top one is for this wire. Bottom one is your pass through. And if you're not 100% sure on which one goes to the wire, the other thing you can do is just choose a fuse that matches the current rating of the one you're putting in here. And then they're both just the same rating, so it doesn't really matter. So like I said, I'm just using a 5 amp because this came with 5 amp fuses. And I got a pack of like 12 of these little couplers for like $10 on Amazon. Slight issue, doesn't want to go in. So I'm going to show you a little workaround for that. Sometimes the micro fuse adapters won't go in. The mini ones will fit. The space between the spades is the same. So you can use a micro. You can use a mini and a micro slot. And if you look at that, it closes with that in there. Now I also forgot to grab my crimpers, so I'll be back again. Okay, now if you don't have a set of these, buy a set of these. You got your strippers and your crimps all in one. Now I don't like these standard butt connectors, so I always cut them off and replace them with a heat shrinking one. Little tip as well, the connector is blue, so you're going to use the blue size on your crimps. Then give her a tug test, and she's good. And those are good. We're just going to heat shrink it down. See, now that's heat shrunk down. I don't have to worry about it rotting in the rust belt. So now we need to find a spot to put this. It is typically best to ground this guy. Now there are 2 grounding posts on here that I was kind of hoping it would fit in between, but it doesn't, so we're just going to use the one. So we're going to start off with the switch key. And what size is that? 8 or 10? It's always a 10 on these stupid things. Okay, now for a ground, I have this wire left over from when I was testing a wiring issue from when I did my engine swap. And this is tied directly to a ground. So we'll use this for our ground. We'll cut this short, but not super short. Next up, we're going to transfer all of our power wires from our accessories over to the output on this post. One of my eyes is too small, so we're just going to use a Dremel to Dremel it out a bit. I'm going to heat shrink the power feed right onto the relay because you got to remember that it's going to be an exposed positive if you don't do that. It's less exposed than before, and that's all that really matters. We're just trying to minimize risk of accidental shock. Now, do not connect the other end of the wire until everything else is hooked up. Positive goes on last to the battery. Once this is in, you're going to have an exposed hot when your vehicle is on. So you need to make sure that that is not touching anything that could potentially lead to a ground. Okay, guys, before I get too carried away, I forgot. I need to add 2 other wires to this because I have 2 other items that are going to be running off of the ignition. Light bars are on, they did not turn on. Ignition on, they turn on. Ignition off, they turn off. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you set up a ignition triggered relay. Now I'll show you where I mounted my relay, because I didn't really show that. So it is right here in the wheel well. Like I said, this is going to be hot when your ignition is on. So you want it nowhere near anything that is going to ground off on it. We also want to make sure that the nut or the bolt holding it to the firewall is nice and tight. Now, if you don't have stuff already installed on your truck and you're starting off, I would install this back here. It's a much safer spot. But because I had a bunch of wires ran already, they were already close to the battery. I will be zip tying this stuff together later down the road, but we still have more projects to work on. Hey guys, Future Matt here. Unfortunately, I forgot to record an outro for that video, so I'm having to record one now. I did add 2 new wires to that relay that weren't really explained. They're gonna be for upcoming videos. It's just because I was already there. Might as well add them so that I don't have to do it when I'm doing that project. Now, another thing that I forgot to mention in the video is if you are going to add one of these relays, make sure to use a 4-gauge wire with an 85 amp fuse in it. If you do not, a 6-gauge, which is what I used in that video, is only good for 60 amps. Anything over 60 amps being pulled from that relay will cause that wire to heat up and can potentially cause fires as well. I did not show putting the fuse in. Make sure that there's a fuse in line in case anything happens, something shorts. You want to make sure that your vehicle doesn't catch on fire. You want that fuse to go instead. Anyways, guys, if you're enjoying this kind of content, the weird, goofy little modifications on vehicles, make sure to like and comment. Of course, too, if you want to support the channel, a subscribe goes a long way. I do have a bunch more accessories for the F-150 that are coming up. I did manage to get that light bar working, but it kind of ties into the next video, so that will be in the next video. Spoiler alert, it was really easy to fix that light bar. Anyways, guys, I love y'all. Y'all beautiful. Hope you had a great day. Thank you again so much for all the support. Viewership is going up every week. It's great. I'd love to be able to do better and more interesting content as this channel grows. I do have a winter project coming up, and then for the really cold weeks, because where I live, it gets really cold, there'll be some tech reviews coming as well. So if you don't want to miss it, best way not to miss it is to subscribe. Okay, bye!